I'm going to be a little bit different today. I'm actually going to rely a lot on my notes because there is a large quantity of opportunities for me to take rabbit trails. And I already told the kids, the people in kids ministry it might be a little longer today. So I'm warning you now too. So not like 2 hours, just like an extra 10, 15 minutes. But when you're doing kids, 15 minutes is a big deal. So, okay. So before we go, the structure of what I'm going to talk about today is going to have two structures. One is, I call it track one. It's like you're standing on a train track, and here's a track one. The track one is going to be kind of my journey in understanding and redefining what faith is, and how do I define that in my life and putting it in its proper place. And the other one has a grateful heart, is a generous life. So those two tracks, the cool thing about tracks is they seem like they're different. But as you look down the track and you look towards the horizon, they become one. And that point where they become one, that's called Jesus. And that's where we're going to be ending up today. Okay? So the second thing I'm going to ask you to do is please allow your brain to be turned on. I need your logic. I need your imagination. I need your reasoning. I need your emotions. I need all those things engaged today. Okay? So there's going to be times where I just don't have enough time to tell you how exactly I got to that. I'm going to make a jump, and I need you to make that jump with me. And I need you to use your logic and go, oh, that makes sense. Okay? So you're going to have to do that a couple times. If I really should break this up into two, but I only have one. So that's what you get. So track number one. Track number one, right? Track number one is my kind of what I've been going through in my faith, right? About a year and a half ago, I was reading the Gospels. Connie and I were going through the Gospel of Matthew, and he keeps saying, oh, you have to have faith, or he has great faith, or wow, never saw anybody with such great faith, or you have little faith, right? And I'm like, ugh, And I just had such an attitude about faith because I'd had to fight some people that had some erroneous definitions of faith. And it kind of just annoyed me. It kind of spoiled it for me. It kind of ruined it for me. So, so I kind of would I was kind of, in my heart, I was kind of like, okay, let's get to the other stuff. It has to be better, right? And God was like, Rich, that without faith, you can't please me. And I want to please God. I mean, I'm just to the point in my life right now, all I want to do is please God. If that's all I ever been known for is a man who pleases God, then I'll achieve everything I want to achieve in life, right? And so when he calls me up on that, I'm like, oh. So then I'm like, okay, I will take this seriously. I'll start looking into it, right? And I've talked about this in the past. So jump forward. Literally a year ago today, we took my brother off of life support. And so that he had double aneurysm a couple days before, 3 days before, and we were trying to have his so that they could harvest his. God, I hate that word. They could use his organs for somebody else so that they could live, right? So they kept him alive. So today, a year ago today, they took him off life support. We were walking down the aisle, and okay, I got to do a rabbit trail. Sorry, but I just want to say thank you. Everybody there was like my brother's friends, my brother's connections, right? And Connie and I were like, well, I just lost my brother. This hurts, And it was down this long hallway down the hospital, and coming down, it's all these people that know my brother, and then boom, I look over here on the side, and here is a group of new lights, and telling you, it meant so much to us that you were there. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, that kind of made me take a little detour on my little faith thing because my brother had a dream. And in his dream, he had died and he rose again in the morgue, right? So I'm like, okay, so he's in the morgue now. I'm waiting for him to rise from the dead. Well, he's not here right now, so he didn't rise from the dead. He rose in the other way. He is in heaven, as my dad says. He got promoted. And we're just jealous because we're not promoted yet. He's actually in a really good place right now. I've had to come to peace with that. It kind of forced some things in my journey. And so it kind of made me a little like, what is this faith stuff? And, just a lot of questions. And God's not afraid of questions, He's not afraid of my honest questions. He's afraid of he's not afraid. He's never afraid. But he doesn't, I don't want to engage in God when I'm just mad at him, right? But if it's a genuine question, I think God just is like, come on, bring it on. Let me help you with that. I'll help you figure it out. And even if you're mad, he'll say, come on, I'll take you. I just love you so much. I just want to hug you. I just want to be with you. I just want to engage you. I just want to hang out with you. That's just who God is, So, I re-engaged again. A couple weeks ago, I was talking to Levi kind of about this, and he brought up the story about Mark 9. And then 2 days later, Connie and I were reading it in Mark 9. In Mark 9, where Jesus is on the Mount Transfiguration, and he has this great thing. Well, this is kind of like, wow, it just brought a lot of pieces together for me. You know what I mean? A lot of my questions to God about faith kind of got cemented here. And he's like, Jesus was on the Mount Transfiguration. What an amazing experience, right? He's basically in heaven, and all these, these other Moses and Isaiah are hanging out with him, and like, hey, I haven't seen you in a long time, so whatever. But they have this great moment, and so they come down, and when they come down, the crowd, the disciples, everybody's in chaos. They're all arguing with each other. They're yelling. There's just such a sense of chaos. And it says they turned their heads and saw Jesus. And everything settled down. Isn't that what Jesus does? He just shows up. And it's like just him, just his presence brings something. It just changes everything. Right? And so all of a sudden they're all focusing on Jesus. He's like, okay, what's the problem? And the guy says, your disciples, thank you, sir. Your disciples can't cast out the demon out of my son. And then Jesus says, oh, ye of little faith. I struggle with that one. Yeah? And then the dad turns around. He kind of has the right response. And he goes, well, help my unbelief. And then he casts out the demon. Well, hold on a second. Jesus just used the word of quantity, right? You don't have enough faith. That's quantity, right? You don't have enough of this to be able to do this. Yet, this guy comes and says, help my unbelief. He just admitted, I have zero. So he's telling, you have to have something, but then this guy says, I have nothing, and then he casts out the demon. Wait, I don't get this. I thought we were supposed to have faith. This guy has no faith, and you cast out the demon. How does that work? Right? And it was like, all of a sudden it hit me. I was like, wait. I'm talking to God, first of all. And I live in a 4-dimensional world, right? Height, length, width, and time, right? That's what we live in. We are very aware of that. We function in that. That's just what our world is, right? Well, scientists have found that there's actually 10 dimensions. And there might be more. But some of these dimensions are so small and so barely existing. The machines they use to measure it barely see them, right? And it's like, the math, whatever, however they do it, right? They barely see it. And I'm thinking, so this is where I'm talking to God right now, right? This is God we're talking about. God exists in all 10 dimensions and more if they exist, right? Equally. He is 100% in each dimension. He is 100% powerful in each dimension. He's 100% merciful, justice, loving, forgiving in every dimension. Even the small dimension that we can barely measure, or the dimension that we have a great amount of measurement called time, right? We have so much measurement on that. And we can measure the universe, the length of the universe. Those big things, right? He's in that the same amount as he in the little one. So you're telling me that when he tells the disciples you don't have enough faith, he's right. And when the guy tells him, I have zero faith, and he heals the guy, he's right. Jesus is right in both statements, which makes it, makes this is one of my ahas. So for God, size, because we're talking about size, the way you explain it is that faith is enough and not enough at the same time. So your faith is not enough, and your faith is enough at the same time. Now, my brain just kind of goes, that can't be, right? My logic says that can't be. But at that point, I go, oops, here's a mystery. I'm okay having mysteries about God. I am more than okay having that mystery and saying, okay, I will rest in this mystery, knowing that I might never understand it, but I will know that I will spend eternity discovering it. And there's something so profound about God who says that my faith is not enough and that my faith is enough at the same time, because he's in both of them, the same amount of God in both of them. Right? You guys okay with this? Yeah. Okay, you're engaging your logic a little here, right? Okay, good. So, okay, now, the only way I can kind of grasp this is that the only thing that I can really do now is lean. Right? So I'm going to lean on God. I can lean like this much, or I can lean that much, or I can lean, I'm not going to do it. Right? Now, the more down I go, the harder it is for me, right? I mean, that's more core involved, more arm involved. This is the easiest. Right? But actually the easiest is to be in his arms. And I propose that Jesus, that's what Jesus did. When he was on earth, he gave up his all, right? And all he did is he did whatever the Father did. That was all he saw. He chose only to see what the Father did, and then that's what he did, right? To me, that's in his arms. That's the ultimate leaning. Because then it's all his strength. It's all his direction. It's all him, right? And I'm just sitting there like, hey, enjoying the ride, right? Being with him, right? Now, I don't think on earth we will ever do that. Maybe my brother is doing that right now, right? But on earth, I think it's always going to be something like this, right? Now, am I going to get closer to him? Am I going to get tighter with him? Am I going to lean more of myself on him? Yes, right? But the ultimate total leaning on him, I don't know. I just don't see that happening. Maybe it can, and somebody can help me with that, but I just don't see that happening, right? So that makes that I'm not enough and enough faith okay. Because I'm not relying on my faith. I'm relying on him, right? I'm leaning on him. He is the source, right? Okay, so I got to get back to my notes. Now, I was at camp, and Linda Wells preached a sermon, and in it, she revealed that she had some of the same questions I have. So one night, I tromp over, no miracle, nobody's talking to Dave and Linda Wells after church, so I went over, I says, Connie, nobody's talking to them, I'm going to go over right now and talk to them and ask them, you know what I mean? And so we pulled up a chair, and I said, hey, you mentioned this in your sermon, I'm struggling with that right now. That's kind of where I'm coming from. You know what I mean? And she's like, oh, okay. And he says, and it's funny because Dave Wells, I'm not First Peter or John. I can't remember where it was right now. But he goes, okay, well, we're going to talk about faith. This is the first thing you got to remember. Number one thing, it's a gift from God. Wait. That kind of throws things off a little. You know what I mean? So what is this whole, I don't have enough. If I get a gift, whatever gift I get, I'm happy for, right? You know, even if it's a small box or a big box, right? It's a gift. So it's a gift from God. I don't know how to process that. Like, I'm not sure how exactly that connects into all the side stuff. Like, I don't, like that, I'm not sure. But it sure gives me this whole thing of, hey, guess what? I truly am going to just lean on him then. Because if it's a gift from him, then I need to just lean on him. Right? So, and also, the other thing that he did is in him watching, I just don't have time to break this down, but just going to have to accept this one. He'd heal people and they'd say, don't tell anybody, right? Because it wasn't about him, right? It was about whatever he saw the Father doing. And then constantly he would like heal people because he loved them or he felt for them. He wanted to feed 5,000 people because he's like, some of them were going to die on the way home. So let's feed them. You know what I mean? There's that compassion, that love, right? So Jesus did everything out of humility and love, right? So here is my statement of faith. Ready? Track number 1, faith. Here it is. Faith is leaning on God with an attitude of humility and love, no matter if he does what we want or not. God's form of faith requires effort and requires no effort at the same time, realizing that it is a gift. So I don't know if this is going to improve, or I'm sure God's going to adjust this. But right now, this is my personal statement of my definition of what faith is, right? For the last year and a half, I think is what it's coming down to is it's just leaning on him. I'm enough, I'm not enough, all at the same time. And I'm just going to be humble. I'm just going to love. I'm going to let him take care of the rest, right? That's just really kind of what my faith journey has kind of come to. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not going to do anything to try to manipulate him. Okay, track 2. I got to keep going here. Track 2. This is about the generous, grateful heart leads to a generous life, right? So there's an Old Testament verse for it. I thought it was kind of cool that it wasn't just in the New Testament, right? Because you kind of think only like, okay, you know. So the Old Testament has it in it. And there's this really cool verse in Deuteronomy 15:10 through 11. And it says, give generously to the poor, not, what does it say? For the Lord our God will bless you in everything you do. There will always be some in the land who are poor. That is why I am commanding you to share freely with the poor and with the other Israelites in Deuteronomy 15:10 to 12. Well, the big word in here is grudgingly that I want to point out. Now, on all these verses, I'm going to leave things on the floor for other people to pick up too, if they want to. But this one, really was not grudgingly. God doesn't want you to go, I have to do it, right? Which, by the way, that's how I sound when Connie says, hey, Rich, do you want to, no. She's like, I'm praying to give so-and-so some money. How much are you thinking? $1. That is grudgingly, you know what I mean? And it's like Connie's taught me, I can't just do grudgingly in life, So the reason why so what's the reason God doesn't want us to do grudgingly? Well, it goes to the New Testament where it says he wants us to be a cheerful giver. He just wants to do that, right? Okay, let's jump to 2 Corinthians 9, 16 through 12. Ready? And then I'll pause and you guys can fill in the word, right? You guys picked out on that very well, by the way, without any instructions. Remember this, a farmer who plants only a few seeds will get a small crop. But the one who plants will get a generous crop. You must each decide in your heart and don't give in response to God, I do love the New Living Translation because it just makes some things so simple. You know what I mean? Okay. For God loves a person who gives, and God will provide. Wait. What was that? All you need. Then you will always have everything and plenty to share with others. The scriptures say they shared and gave to the poor. Their good deeds will be remembered. God is the one who provides the seed for the farmer and the bread to eat. In the same way, he will provide and your resources and then produce a great harvest of generosity in you. Yes, you will be enriched in every way so that you may always be generous. And when we take your gift to those who need them, they will. Thank God. So 2 things will result from this ministry of giving. The needs of the believers in Jerusalem, I almost stepped on something here, will be and they will express their thanks to God. Okay, let's go to the first verse, verse 6. Now, let's read this and I have a question for you. Sorry, teacher me just kicked in. Okay. why would a farmer plant a small amount of seed? Okay? Why would a farmer plant a small amount of seed?
He doesn't have enough.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough seed. Or he doesn't have enough land. Or maybe he just doesn't have enough wisdom. Right? Or maybe he doesn't have vision for it. Pardon?
Maybe he doesn't have enough faith.
Yeah. He doesn't have faith. Or Proverbs just say he's a fool and he's just a lazy buck. Right? You know, that's also the other one, right? So there's many reasons why. But I would like to turn that around. Okay, this is a moment where we're going to do something quickly. Why do we lack? And I would like to propose the reason why we lack is hurt. So take that, put it right over here in your brain, right? Just put that thought right there. Hurt is the reason why we have lack. Okay. I just don't have time to go into the verses about that. So, verse 7. I want you to read it read it in your head, and then it says, what guides your giving? So what guides our giving? Our heart. I have a problem with that. Because I agree with Jeremiah 17, where it says that our heart is deceitful in all things and desperately wicked. I agree with that. God wants me to have my heart guide my giving. I won't give a thing. Seriously. I will never. Because I'll deceive it. I'll do it. I'll give only to get. Right? I'll give only to do whatever I want. Right? It will all be about me. Now, why is our heart so deceitful? Well, I believe there's two reasons. One is Adam and Eve blew it. Right? They decided that they wanted to decide how they got the knowledge of good and evil. They didn't want to rely on God for it. They didn't want to lean on him. They wanted to figure it out themselves. This is how we are going to discover the fruit of the evil. That's why they ate of the fruit, because they said, we want it our way. Right? So that just set our hearts as human beings on that path. That we're we're just deceptive. We're wicked. You know what I mean? That's just where we're at, right? And I believe the other reason why, back to this thought right here, hurt. Pain in your life will cause you to be desperately wicked. Something like that, however the verse goes, right? Okay, now it says, the second part of the verse, why does God not want us to give out of pressure or reluctantly? He wants us to give cheerfully. Where does cheerfulness come from? Oh my God, he's totally setting us up. First he says it's going to be the heart, and then he says you have to be happy about it. Because it comes from the heart, right? If cheerfulness doesn't come from my own great brain, right? It comes from inside your soul. You know what I mean? Okay, so, verse 8, question. How much does God provide? Whoops. Why does God provide all?
So we can share.
I mean, is this complicated? Okay. Now, verse 9. Ready? Verse 9. Magic. Okay, ready? Why is this a big deal to God? I believe it's because it says, your good deeds will be remembered forever. Our giving has a ripple effect on eternity. Right? So, my giving has a ripple effect on eternity? You know? Well, then I better not be reluctant. I better not be, $1 guy. You know? Okay, verses 10. So he's going to reiterate a little bit of what, that he provides all our needs. And then he says, then he'll produce such a great harvest. But where is a great harvest going to be? But it's a great harvest of generosity or a great harvest from the seeds that we grow? Is it wheat? No, it's generosity. And why does he want a great harvest? Because it has a ripple effect on eternity. right? And wait, I don't understand this because I know in heaven I'm not going to be able to bring my Mazda 6 up there, even though I like my car a lot, right? I'm not going to be able to bring it up to heaven, right? So what is it what is it that's going to be rippling throughout eternity? Okay, well, let's look at verses 11 and 12. And the question is, why does God provide all when we are generous, and then he asks us to be generous to other people? He's going to provide all, and then he says, be generous to other people. What's the end result of that he's looking for?
They will joyfully express their thanks to God.
Thanks to God. What's the eternal ripple? The other person saying thanks to God. Not thanks to me, right? Even though that would be nice, right? But it's not. It's really about him because they all came from him, right? But I'm telling you, my heart is not pure. You know what I mean? I do want some glory. So, okay. So let me wrap this up. Track number one is my faith is leaning on God, right? Doesn't require effort, requires no effort, and it requires effort. Faith does. And then you go to generosity, and it says God provides all so that your heart will give to others so that they can have a grateful heart that will then keep the cycle going. So I'm going to have a grateful heart, right? You know, it was shared with me. And then I started growing in God. And then I moved. And I worked through the things in my heart, right? I became closer to God. And then guess what? I'm thankful. Now, I then are generous to somebody else. They're thankful. And then God starts to, see, yes, Connie did help me write this for outreach a little bit. So this is how the two tracks come together. Track 1 and 2. This is how they come together, right? And what I'm going to share is not a list of to-do order. It's just things that God's been doing in my heart and in my life, right? You might have some that are a little different. You might be doing a little different perspectives. Some things will be more emphasized, things that are emphasized, but there's some big ideas here that all of us are in, right? So the first one is, what is the power of a grateful heart? Well, I'm going to quote our Moses. 3 weeks ago, he says, thanklessness blinds you. Thankfulness awakens you. You're awakened to God when you're thankful, right? So you want to have a thankful heart, and then that means you need to lean on God. And the more you lean on God, the more focused you're on Him. The more focused you're on Him, the more able to provide all to us, right? So another thing I'm stealing from Moses from 3 weeks ago, he said that the gospel shines through the window of our life. But sometimes our window is not clean. Right? So I want to take up on that one. I got a window here. You guys thought it was just for decoration. I just don't want to get all over my hands. Okay? So I have a window here. And I can tell you that I lack faith. And I lack in generous living because of the hurt that God never healed my mom from her migraine headaches. That hurt I lack faith in generous living because my friend Tony kind of gave up to me. He's my only friend I had. He gave up on me in my teenage years and left me basically alone with no friends. Lack faith because God did not raise my brother from the dead. Lack faith and living a generous life because I grew up in poverty. We had nothing. I lack faith, generous life because last year I had a coworker who was trying to destroy me and destroy my character. I lack faith in living a generous life. Because as soon as you have a little bit of money in the bank, your car breaks down, right? You know? It's like all of a sudden you have some savings. I have faith in a generous life because Connie and I just had a massive fight. Right? I have faith. I have lack of faith in living a generous life because a pastor I looked up to was found committing adultery. It's kind of hard for the gospel to shine through that, isn't it? And yeah, we say it's because they did this or they did that. But all this hurt blocks the gospel to come through our life. It blocks our ability to get faith. Right? It blocks our ability to do that. But God has an answer. God did not come to earth so that we would stay in this position. He came with an answer, right? And I was going to dye it red, but I can't get the lid off. So I thought it'd be kind of like the blood of Christ, you know? So I look at things and I go, I don't know, I was trying to be all symbolic and it didn't work. So God wants us, God put in us the ability to be generous. He put that in us. He gave us that gift, right? And that putting that gift in us, you have to activate God. You know? And then and then He comes through and He does this, right? And then also my generous flow. I have, sometimes I block God's coming through my life. Like y'all know, I have a gift of encouragement, and I was telling God, why isn't that more like powerful? Like why isn't that, and I was kind of talking about it. And He goes, well, because you protect yourself with sarcasm and irony. And it's like, so, okay, God, forgive me for not leaning on you, right? Forgive me for not trusting you to be the one that can come through for me, right? And increase it in my life. Other thing that has helped me is meditating on who God is and on His character. Like, for example, thinking about the goodness of God. The goodness of God, the main thing the goodness of God does in our life is that when you go to God and you repent, He says, yes. And then He doesn't see you the way you were when you were sinning. It's like you'd never sinned before. He doesn't look at you that way and go, oh, I remember that day, right? Right? And just thinking about how He forgives me, right? And the way He forgives me. I think about the way that He, I got to stick close to my notes or I'll be here all day. Think about His mercy and His justice, right? How does God's mercy and justice work together? Well, because He is God, He can be 100% just and 100% merciful at the same time. And is not unjust and is not unmerciful at any moment. It's always just. It's always merciful. Well, that helps me. Right? To work through that. Does that mean this helped me to do that? The other thing is that the gospel has the power to restore all things for His purpose. And learning how to forgive. He taught me how to forgive. He forgave me in learning how to forgive others, right? The gospel has more light coming through, right? Sorry, I should have done that. Realizing that the gift, that living a generous life is not the goal. Realizing that the goal is to be like Christ. Not to live a generous life, right? To do what the Father is doing, not what I will do to get credit, right? Because my heart's deceitful. Another one was like, it was so cool how Luther changed everything for us, right? And he clarified the whole thing of justification. And he's like, when you are justified, it is a legal transaction, right? That legal transaction wipes away our sin. True. But then I like how Tim Mackey from the Bible Project put it. He goes, yes, it's a legal transaction, right? But he came to earth. He came to live with us. He came to die with us. He came to rise with us. Why did he do that? He didn't do it just for a legal transaction. He did it so he could have a covenant relationship with us. And as I think about that covenant relationship, which is a relationship in which I say, oh, I will be I'm sticking with God no matter what. No matter what happens, he and I are going to be together. I don't care what happens in my life. He's it. I am his and he is mine. Right? That covenant relationship, right, allows us. And then you get to the point where you start realizing, why am I wiping it? You know? If I was in his arms, he would be wiping away my hurt. He would be wiping away my pain. Right? And that's the goal. The goal is to get to the point where he does this, right? Now, I would say, maybe this is not humble of me to say this, but my life is a lot more see-through for the gospel than it used to be. Because I've been working through these things. But this is my life. I still got a lot of non-see-through things. And I don't think I'll ever get over that until I get to heaven. Right? So, sorry, I don't want to stain this countertop. That covenant relationship that God's calling us for includes your pain. All the hurt that you have, it's included in the covenant. He doesn't say, I don't want to have a covenant with you because you have too much pain in your life. It's too dark. So the cleaner the window, the more the gospel can provide all for me. The more the gospel provides all for me, out of my leftovers, it said my leftovers, right? Out of my leftovers, I can give generously to others. Right? Can I remind you that other verse where it says the cup overflows? You know? That's how he gives to us. All means overflow, not just barely enough. Right? That's his definition. So this is kind of where I've come to. In my two tracks of my life, that as I look down the track and I look into the horizon, I'm looking at my life, right? What I'm seeing right now is just Jesus. That point where these two things come together, it's called Jesus, and that's where I look at. That's where I'm focused on, right? I'm focused on it so I can lean on him, knowing that I bring nothing and I bring everything I can. Right? I also know that he's going to provide all my needs. Even the need for faith. He's going to provide all that. So that I can please him. Right? So let's pray. Lord, I just ask that you would just be with us today. Help us, Lord, to set our life up in such a way that our hurt and pain can be brought to you. And you can be the one that provides all, even in my heart, and changes my heart from a deceptive, wicked heart to a heart that generously, without begrudging you, or without hatred towards you, or without, just being evil, can just give to others so that they can then thank you. And they can start the journey of learning about you and learning how to get their window cleaned so that the gospel can shine through them and shine to those around them. Okay, now I'm going to end with this prayer. I'm going to ask you guys to pray this with me. I took Moses' prayer from 3 weeks ago and I added to it. Since what he writes is not Bible, I can do that. So, okay, just because his name is Moses, it's kind of always intimidating. But okay, so if you guys could pray this with me. Help me to lean on you so you can make me clear, make me fearless, and make me faithful. Amen.